inside a high-level cultivation chamber. Su Changtian's entire body was enveloped by a surging stream of true qi. Seeing this, Zhou Qin could not help but sigh inwardly. Damn, it's been 10 days and the third young master hasn't left his spot once. When he's hungry, he just takes a small sip of spirit spring water. When the pill effects wear off, he immediately pops a few more into his mouth and swallows. More importantly, the third young master's breathing circulation is so fast even I'm starting to struggle to keep up. Looks like the third young master doesn't just have an innate Tao body. The cultivation technique he's using is also a top-tier art of this era. Suddenly, Su Changtian opened his eyes, sensing the changes within his body and wondering, did I just break through again? Zhou Qin clasped his hands in congratulations. Congratulations, young master, on breaking through to 8th grade vein tempering. Hearing this, Su Changtian thought to himself, Mr. Zhou's technique really is incredible for assisting cultivation. Then he looked at Zhou Qin and spoke, Mr. Zhou, you've worked hard. Zhou Qin's face clearly showed exhaustion as he replied, It's fine, I'm just a bit tired. He thought to himself, any later and I really wouldn't have been able to hold on. After expressing his thanks, Su Changtian said that he would truthfully report this matter to his father. The two left the cultivation room. Su Changtian was filled with astonishment. It's only been 10 days. From not even having entered the grading system to 8th grade vein tempering in less than 2 months. But it's not suitable to keep cultivating now. I've basically finished all the pills. Without pills to protect the meridians and nourish the soul, cultivating too long will damage the foundation. Afterward, the two arrived at the martial instruction court, where many warriors with powerful physiques and strong auras had gathered. The appearance of Su Changtian and Zhou Qin immediately attracted everyone's attention in the martial instruction court. A warrior with bulging muscles stared fixedly at Su Changtian. Changtian was stunned inwardly. What the muscle Amazon? Zhou Qin hurriedly explained, Young master, these people all started on the martial path, so their bodies are mostly quite sturdy. Su Changtian asked curiously, Martial path? What's the martial path? Wait, the Heaven Monitoring Pavilion was a sect? Zhou Qin confirmed, yes, but it was destroyed over 10,000 years ago. Most of the cultivation realms used now were originally defined by them. The Heaven Monitoring Pavilion categorized the cultivation paths. First was the Qi path, the orthodox cultivation route, focusing on absorbing and circulating spiritual Qi. Second was the martial path, a route focused on refining the physical body to its limits, using muscular strength as the foundation. Third was the soul path, focusing on cultivating the power of the soul and spirit. And finally formation, the path of researching and deploying complex formations. All of these were laid out by the Heaven Monitoring Pavilion. Zhou Qin continued, but the martial disciple style of cultivation is completely outdated nowadays. It's just that out of habit, and because no one can unify the system, the realm names are still used. Su Changtian pondered for a moment and asked Mr. Zhou to elaborate. Zhou Qin continued, people who walk the martial disciple path only receive a true cultivation technique from the Prime Minister's estate when they reach peak 7th grade bone refinement. This made Su Changtian extremely puzzled. So they don't have any techniques yet? But without a technique, how do they draw origin Qi into the body? Zhou Qin replied, naturally, they can only slowly temper their bodies using martial disciple body training methods. Though outdated, this training style doesn't slow Qi entry into the body, and it doesn't require the soul. Hidden injuries? Su Changtian frowned, then why? Zhou Qin sighed, bitterness flashing in his eyes. Young master, for people like us, there's no other way to cultivate besides this. Just having access to martial disciple methods is already something to be grateful for. His voice grew heavy. After all, cultivation techniques are really far out of reach for ordinary people. Su Changtian realized that behind this story lay a far from simple past. He looked straight at his guard and said, Mr. Zhou, could you explain? Zhou Qin raised his wine gourd to his mouth and took a large gulp, as if gathering the courage to recount the past. His gaze became distant. After a moment of silence he said, the reason this old martial disciple path still exists basically comes down to 5 words. Techniques are not lightly passed on. Almost all cultivation manuals are monopolized by the sect world, but there are far too many people who want to change their faith through cultivation. Countless die for it every day. He recalled, when I was young I saw many people in the markets die with no burial place, fighting over a single tattered page of a technique. For ordinary people to obtain a technique, aside from the rare lucky encounter, there are only two paths: join the army or become a servant to a great clan. And the sects only open their mountain gates for a few days every few years to recruit disciples. But they require at least above average talent. Those with merely average aptitude get rejected. Most sects have already existed for over 1,000 years and long since built a layer of subordinate noble families beneath them. Those families then send their children to the sects to cultivate. A sect can only support so many people. Without background, it's very hard to squeeze in. Under these conditions, the Tiannan Chamber of Commerce created a martial hall called Tiannan. Back then, martial halls were everywhere. But after a few decades, only a handful remained. Even with the great Yuan Prime Minister's protection, the massive Tiannan Chamber of Commerce still nearly collapsed several times. Whatever the purpose of the struggles up above, after all that, ordinary people finally had a path to cultivation, even though the martial disciple path is full of hardships, even though it can damage the foundation. For those who had no way to cultivate at all, it was still their only chance. I was one of them, Zhou Chen revealed. With the hard-earned silver I scraped together from a childhood of scamming and hustling in the streets, I became one of the first people to enter Tiannan Martial Hall to cultivate. But the hall wasn't quite what I imagined. 100 taels of silver bought only a body forging fist manual, a single-person room, and over 1,000 fellow students, no one-on-one instructors, no medicinal baths, not even a proper aptitude test. But later I gradually realized it was worth the money, at least for me. It was worth it, even though Tiannan Martial Hall had only just been founded. Its internal structure was already quite complete, various assessments, various ranking lists, and all kinds of competitions. In short, the capable stay, the incapable go. Cultivation resources were distributed by ranking. The higher you ranked, the more you got. Everyone in the hall fought like mad to climb upward, for that one slim path to rise. During that time, the number of people eliminated was countless. The number of dead and injured was also countless. Zhou Chen smiled, his eyes shining with resilience. That's how I clawed my way up, step by step, risking my life, to become a third-grade grandmaster. Su Chantian listened quietly, thinking to himself, Mr. Zhou's experience is very rare, and the hardships of these martial disciples truly are sigh-worthy. But this Tiannan Martial Hall. He thought of Inger and the Black Scale Guards, then reasoned. Because of the Black Scale Guards, I'd already suspected that cheap old man of mine had his own private soldier training system. But the Black Scale Guards are raised in secret, like how great clans raise household guards. Establishing Tiannan Martial Hall, however, is putting everything right out in the open. Recruiting students from across the land. This is a cultivation path for commoners, but for the Prime Minister's estate, it's also a public method of recruiting soldiers. Su Changtian temporarily set aside the complicated thoughts about Tiannan Martial Hall and his father, telling himself, thinking too much about it now is pointless. Better to wait until I'm strong enough and ask that old man directly. My meridians and soul need to rest, but I can't waste time. I should use this chance to read some books, even though this isn't the Prime Minister's estate. As the home of the current Prime Minister, the library here still has many extremely rare texts and secrets. While Su Changtian was deeply engrossed in reading in the library, a familiar voice sounded, Third Young Master. It was Inger. She stood there and coldly reported, The Prime Minister is looking for you. Su Changtian remained seated, continuing to read, silent and unresponsive. Seeing this, Inger shouted angrily, The Prime Minister is looking for you. Su Changtian sighed softly, thinking, that cheap old man shouldn't be running all the way to Jingjiang City himself, so this must mean a remote communication. He calmly stood up, closed the book, and said to Inger, Let's go. Su Changtian suddenly asked, Right, did that woman Su Jinxian talk? He recalled, since she provided useful information before, I told Inger not to use physical torture. I instructed her to bind Su Jinxuan's hands and feet, seal her hearing, and throw her into a pitch-black room filled with soft bedding. It's not as straightforwardly painful as physical torture, but that stuff is a mental attack. Inga reported, she said some things, but not much. Su Changtian thought to himself, not expecting that fox spirit woman to be so tight-lipped. Su Changtian asked again, Su Jinxian only said a little? He thought, didn't think that foxy vixen would be that tough. Inga confirmed succinctly, yes, she only said a little. Then she continued, 10 days ago when I left the estate to handle some matters, she said a bit. I only just got back today and was planning to question her again. Hearing this, Su Changtian shouted in shock, what? Seeing Inga's expression, he asked in alarm, you used the punishment method I described? She simply replied with a sound Su Changtian broke out in a cold sweat. My God, she's been trapped in that state in a dark room for a full 10 days? Is Su Jinchuan's mind really still holding up? Trying to hide his fluster, he hurriedly changed the subject. Ahem, you just said you left the estate. Why? Inga replied curtly, to investigate Qin Weijio. That Qin Weijio is that Master Qin? Su Changtian asked further, any progress? Inga did not answer, she simply walked past him in silence. He thought irritably, damn it, if it were Zhou Qin, he definitely would have told me. Looks like Inga still needs some training. In the northwest of the manor there's a cluster of courtyards with extremely tight security. It's the only area in the Su estate I'm not allowed to enter, except when that old man and Su Chang'e call me. And that phone is located underground in that section. Su Changtian spoke first. Father, you wanted me? From within the sphere came a voice. How have you been lately? Not bad. He waited in silence, knowing that his father had not summoned him merely to exchange a few simple pleasantries. After a while, Su Changtian spoke hesitantly. I reached 8th grade. The Prime Minister replied coldly, Then, he gave a rare compliment, very good. Su Changtian's expression showed a hint of disappointment. The Prime Minister continued, I heard from Chang'e that your physique is quite good now? It's all right, Su Changtian replied with a smug smile. Just an innate Dao body, at most only a little better than him. The Prime Minister seemed to suppress a laugh, then said, Ahem, being able to cultivate is a good thing. Raise your strength as quickly as you can. If you run out of pills, go to the steward and ask for more. Su Changtian seized the opportunity to recommend someone. Also the reason I can cultivate so fast actually has a lot to do with Mr. Zhou. His technique can assist my cultivation. Zhou Chen? The Prime Minister confirmed. His technique does have that effect. Very good, I'll make arrangements regarding Zhou Chen. Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Su Changtian immediately changed the subject and went straight to the main point. Father, what's the background of this Qin Weijio? The Prime Minister smiled and asked, You're interested? Of course I care, Su Changtian said. If not for my innate soul body and naturally condensed soul, that foxy woman would have taken control of me by now. He thought to himself, Qin Weijio even knows about Burial Village, his background can't be simple. Fine, the Prime Minister agreed, then gave an order, Chang'e, you explain Qin Weijio to your little brother. Only then did Su Changtian realize, figures, no wonder that old man was chuckling at the start. So Su Chang'e had been listening in the whole time, no sense of honor. The Prime Minister's estate, Imperial capital. Before the energy sphere floating in midair stood two men, one was Su Chang'e, the other was the great Yen Prime Minister, Su Yinhe. An old man with a long beard and a scar over his eye, exuding an aura of authority and ruthlessness. Su Chang'e began explaining, Qin Weijio is quite an unusual man. Over 10 years ago, I traveled with him in Jiangnan Prefecture. At first, Su Changtian immediately cut him off. I know about that. Su Chang'e continued, at the Tianyuan conference 13 years ago, I know that too, Su Changtian interrupted once again, showing impatience. Su Chang'e suppressed his anger and continued, Qin Weijio is from the sect world, born into 1,000. Su Changtian interrupted yet again. Sigh, Su Chang'e, can you just get to the point? Su Chang'e clenched his fists and shouted, Su Changtian. Shut your mouth. Su Changtian made a funny face and said teasingly, Heh, did I say something wrong? Isn't all of this common knowledge by now? Su Chang'e ignored him and said, In a while, I need to go to Yuan City. Hearing this, Su Changtian was startled. Yuan City is only 40 li from Xinjiang Prefecture. Su Changge continued explaining, anyway, on the surface the Tianyuan conference is held to inspire the younger generation of the world, but in truth it gives the sect leaders and elders a chance to gather, meet, and discuss various matters, headed by the world's #1 sect, the Tianyuan Sword Sect. It's basically a collective meeting of a bunch of warlord leaders. Previously, Zhou Qin mentioned that our destination on this trip is that Tianyuan conference in Tianyuan City. Qin Weijiu is one of the very few who survived Su Changge's sword arts. Su Changtian immediately understood. The son of Great Yan's prime minister going to a grand tournament used by local warlord leaders as a conference, and then using lethal force on sect disciples in the arena, their relationship is pretty obvious. After obtaining information about Qin Weijiu, Su Changtian looked straight at the sphere of light, his voice becoming more serious than ever. Father, do you know a place called Burial Village? The atmosphere fell into silence. The Prime Minister spoke in a deep voice. Of course I know Burial Village. His sharp gaze seemed to see through everything. But Changtian, how did you learn about that place? Su Changtian put on an innocent look and blamed everything on Su Jinxian. That vixen was the one who said it. Hearing this, the Prime Minister and Su Changge exchanged glances, showing surprise. Since the charm soul demonic body said it, it's as good as coming from Qin Weijiu himself. The Prime Minister continued pressing. Then how did she tell you? Su Changtian cleared his throat. Ahem, I know she has a lover. Is it that brat named Qingmo? The Prime Minister immediately guessed. This name had clearly been on his radar for a long time. Dad, are you spying on me? Haha, they reported it to me of their own volition, you can't blame me for that. If you didn't give the order, how would they know to report it to you? I was the one who gave the order. Changtian, do you have a problem with that? Fine, I'll talk, alright? Someone named Fan Wenqing told me once that this Su Jinxian was as beautiful as a goddess, but that she seemed to have a lover named Qingmo over at Jiolongjiang. After I returned to Xinjiang Prefecture, I arranged for people to find them, but Su Jinxian ended up delivering herself right to my door. Fan Wenqing was a local thug with quite a bit of influence in Jiolongjiang, and he was one of the original host's lackeys. However, he was killed 2 months ago by an enraged Su Changge. Sometimes a dead person is more useful than a living one. After all, a dead man makes the perfect scapegoat. So, does this Qingmo have something to do with Burial Village? Yes, previously, Su Jinxian tried to manipulate me. After I caught her, I used a few methods to make her divulge some information about Qingmo. She said Qin Weijiu suspected that Qingmo might be related to a place called Burial Village, and specifically told her to keep an eye on him. The conversation ended, the energy sphere gradually dissipated. The Prime Minister turned to ask his son, Changge, what do you think of this? He replied, my third brother's wretched habit of fighting over women has finally been put to good use for once. There are very few people in the world who even know about Burial Village, let alone someone who could judge Qingmo's origins through simple observation. I fear that Qin Weijiu knows quite a lot about Burial Village. I just don't know if he knows its specific location, or if he is aware that it has already been destroyed. But considering he was willing to use a once-in-a-century charm soul demonic body as bait to control Changtian, it seems his ambitions are anything but small. It's a pity I couldn't kill him with a single strike at the Tianyuan assembly. If we want to move against him now, I'm afraid Inger and the other two won't be enough. We need to send more people. Hearing this, the Prime Minister fell silent, saying nothing. After a while, he spoke. It really isn't enough, Changge. You must go to Xinjiang Prefecture personally. Father, but as for the imperial capital? No matter, since you killed that 7-life python, the ancient abyss has been much quieter. The key priority now is the war in the north. Although Yuan has already headed north, the previous battle situation was too chaotic. It will take some time for the war with the barbarians to conclude. This period should be enough for you to make a round trip from the imperial capital. The matters on Changtian's side must be handled properly first. Su Changge lowered his head, fully understanding his father's meaning. It's true that many things have reached the point of no return. Every unstable factor must be eliminated in advance. Very well, I will leave for Jingjiang Prefecture this very day. Su Chang'e decisively accepted the order. The Prime Minister added, also, if you find that brat named Qingmo on the way, remember to handle him yourself. He explained, this Qingmo was most likely raised by that bunch of calamities. There were even several primals in Burial Village. Qingmo's cultivation is abnormal. He might be practicing a secret art of slow accumulation, and he could cause trouble once he matures. Moreover, he might be holding a secret treasure from Burial Village. A secret treasure? Su Chang'e shouted in shock. The soul-nurturing ring. The Prime Minister explained further, this ring can house divinity and nurture souls. If that ancient book was correct, it should be hosting the will soul of a saint. Even someone as arrogant as Su Chang'e could not help but be shocked. A saint? The Prime Minister said disdainfully. There is no need to worry too much. Even a saint cannot defeat time, let alone in the form of a remnant soul, lingering on in that soul-nurturing ring until now. He's nothing more than a mangy dog clinging to a pathetic life. If you give it your all, killing him will be as easy as flipping your hand. All right, you may leave, by the way. Before you go, remember to take some medicinal pills from the manor. Yes, Father. Returning to the underground chamber in Jingjiang, Su Changtian watched the energy sphere fade away and thought to himself, it's already been several minutes. This thing doesn't even have a call notification. I have no idea if the other side hung up or not. He was immersed in the satisfaction of his plan when Inger's voice pulled him back to reality. Third young master, he was startled. Inger reported, the Prime Minister has already disconnected. Do you have anything else to say to him? Su Changtian complained inwardly. As expected, he hung up again without saying a word. He turned and snapped at Inger, next time you appear, remember to make some noise, don't be like a ghost. Inger only replied coldly with a single sound, oh. Su Changtian thought to himself, by drawing the protagonist and Qin Weizhou into this old man boss's sight, given his personality, he'll definitely take it seriously. My goal has been achieved, what happens next has nothing to do with me. Having thought this, he turned his back and left. I'm going back. Just then, an aged voice rang out, third young master, third young master. Manager Li, his strength is low, but his authority is great, a typical case of high power despite low status. In my memories, this old man has always known his place. Manager Li, what do you need me for? Manager Li bowed and reported, third young master, as you previously instructed, the internal reports from the last 10 days have been delivered to your wing. Su Changtian replied calmly, yes, I know. Then Manager Li took out a scroll from his sleeve and presented it. This is a secret report sent from Jincheng in Jiangnan Prefecture the day before yesterday. Please take a look, third young master. Su Changtian looked at the scroll, his eyes revealing surprise at this unexpected information.